At nighttime, we see a massive traffic jam on a dark highway. People were in their cars with their kids. Some people were getting out of their cars as the traffic backed up their cars so much that they haven't moved in an hour. "Come on already! Hurry up, you pieces of—" Adam, not in front of the kids, his wife shouts. She rubs his shoulder, trying to calm him down. "I'm sorry, hon." He turns to the back. "Are you kids alright?" their father asks. Brandon looks towards his father. "We're alright, Dad." He takes his phone and presses on Benjamin's contact again. "Honey, you tried him 3 times already. He's probably asleep," she says. "I know, but I have to talk to him. If there's a chance," he says desperately. Suddenly, his phone goes off. "Yes, it's Ben. He's calling me," Brandon says, excited. He presses it. "Bro, you there? It's crazy." "What's crazy?" Benjamin asks. "Everything. My parents are taking me and Tina downtown. Everyone is freaking out about this new virus going around. I'm really scared too," Brandon says, terrified. "Brandon, listen to me. Calm down, alright? Just close your eyes, breathe, and think, why are you freaking out?" he asks. "Because, Ben, the military is being brought into every city. CDC and disease officials are all over the news and the radio. People are wearing masks, but they're not doing anything to stop the spreading," he says, nervously. Several moments of silence pass. "Hello? Hello? Benjamin, are you there?" he asks, concerned. "My parents are downtown. One of our neighbors mauled his own kids. The FBI was called into our neighborhood. I know it sounds unbelievable, man, but it's all over the internet and radio. It's like the end of the world." Benjamin begins to talk. "Brandon, my parents and I can't make it to the city. Everywhere is too crowded right now. You should all come here and wait this out with my family. We have a basement full of supplies," he says, offering. "Ben, it's too late. My family has already been stuck on the highway for 6 hours. All the exits and back roads are blocked for miles. We can't turn around even if we wanted to," he says, annoyed. "That's it," Adam says. "What are you doing?" Lois asks. "We're not staying here another second longer," he says, annoyed. "You're going on the grass?" Lois asks, scared. Suddenly, ambulances are seen coming from the opposite side of the highway. "They're going the wrong way, right?" Brandon asks. Loud screaming is heard as gunshots go off, scaring them. "Kids, get down!" Lois orders. Brandon shields his terrified sister. Brandon looks up and sees a bloody man tackling a police officer from behind, biting into his neck. Brandon gets down as his mother shouts for him to step away from the window. We see a terrified Brandon holding his little sister's hand. "Are we going to die?" she asks, scared. "No, Tina. We'll be okay," he comforts her. Outside the car, a flame slowly reaches a leaking gas truck, sending it ablaze. A fiery inferno is unleashed on the highway, full of overcrowded cars and panicked civilians. A horrible, blood-curdling scream is heard as Brandon releases from comforting his sister. He feels something warm and wet on him, but he isn't sure what it is. He looks and sees his sister crying, looking at their father. The windshield was broken, with a large piece of metal sticking out of his chair. Brandon felt sick and nauseated as he sees that a bloody blade pierced the chair. "What's wrong?" Tina asks, scared. "Don't look!" Brandon says, shielding her eyes. "Mom, are you okay?" he asks her. Lois was frozen in fear, with tears in her eyes. She wasn't saying anything to protect the kids. Brandon noticed people on the highway running as a large flame is seen in the background, getting bigger. Brandon grabs his sister's hand. "Follow me, Tina," he orders. Brandon opens the door and exits the car with his sister, leaving behind his phone. He turns back, looking for his mother. There were ravenous people banging on her side of the car. "Wait, we have to get Mom and Dad!" Tina shouts. as Brandon tries to go to the door. "Stay here!" he orders Tina. He tries to open the back door. "Mom, come through this way!" he shouts. "Brandon, help!" he hears. Brandon turns around and sees Tina being swept in a crowd of panicked people. "No!" he shouts. "Tina!" Brandon chases after her. "Stop! That's my sister!" Brandon panics, calling out to her as he tries pushing through the crowd of people. A person grabs him. A man, covered in blood, snarling at him. Brandon gets terrified, but grabs his neck. He pushes on the man's neck and uses all his strength, shoving his face in a car window. The assaulter growls and slowly removes its head from the broken glass. Brandon looks as the strange man cuts his neck to shreds, tearing off pieces of his own flesh. Brandon backs away, slowly petrified of fear. When he is hit by another crowd of panicked civilians, he gets pushed against a car and is trampled on as dozens of people are running for their lives. He screams as their feet and knees hit him, but he quickly grabs onto one of the cars and pulls himself under it. As he crawls under the car in pain, his head starts bleeding. He sees a man get tackled and bitten in the head. He screams in agony as hair, skin, and muscle are removed from his cranium. He quickly tries to go around, but as the blood continues to drop from his face, he starts to fall asleep. But he can't do that. He has to find Tina. He quickly tries to crawl himself out of the car and covers his head. He was definitely bleeding and felt a massive bruise on his neck. Brandon waits a little for them to clear and runs through the crowd, shoving people out of the way. "Tina!" he shouts. He looks around and sees a little child laying on the ground. He looked at the child, covered in blood. It was a little girl, his eyes and mouth enlarged in complete shock as Tina lays on the ground, covered, not moving. He runs and grabs her. "Tina?" he says softly. "Tina, it's me! It's Brandon!" he says with tears in his eyes. He screamed in heartache, holding her. His little sister was laying lifeless in his arms, and it was all his fault. 2 days later, Brandon, covered in blood and filth, was walking down the street. He looked dead. He walked like a dead person and found himself in a neighborhood. He goes up to a house and pulls out a key and puts it in the door. He slowly opens the door and enters the house. The young man slowly walked inside his former home. His family was gone, all in one terrible night. He looked around and saw empty drawers and his family pictures everywhere. He slowly closed the door and went to clean up. The sink still worked, luckily, and he turned it on. He didn't smile, though, and started to wash his hands and face. As he cleaned up, he looked at himself with tears in his eyes. After cleaning up, Brandon looks at some of the family pictures. Many of them had him and Benjamin in them. Some photos were of them as kids, and a few of them older. He quickly began to smash the photos, crying, "Where are you?" he shouts, tossing the photos against the walls. Brandon collapses in tears and sinks in the floor, covered in glass. "Just let me die," he says. Several seconds later, a walker growls at the window. "Just let me die," he says sad. Brandon continues to lay on the ground for hours as the walkers growl at his door. "Just let me die," he continues to say to himself. "Where are you?" he cries. "I miss you. Where are you? Why did you have to disappear?" Brandon cries, laying on the floor. In a flashback, 2 years ago, Brandon is walking towards Benjamin. They were at an amusement park. "I can't believe you! We're at Six Flags and you're sulking," Brandon says to his friend. "We rode the Superman twice, man! That was so awesome!" Brandon shouted. Benjamin was sitting by his table, looking mild. "Oh, come on, don't look so down," he says, sitting down. "Look at us, two handsome college graduates cross-countrying," he says enthusiastically. Benjamin looks to his friend and gives a mild smile. "Yeah, well, I know you really wanted to come here," he says back. "But we really need to get ready for college, Brandon. I'm not helping you balance your schedule again," he says. Brandon looks at his friend. "I know, and I appreciate it. You've helped me get through high school as a C student, and I couldn't ask for a better friend," he says. "Good, because you'll never find one," Benjamin says, smiling. "Did you just make a joke?" he asks, laughing. "Hey, look over there," Brandon says, pointing. Benjamin doesn't listen. "I promise this isn't a trick," he says. Brandon gives in and looks, and notices some girls sitting by a table, drinking and eating. "What do you think?" Brandon asks. "They look cute," he says, excited. Brandon drinks his water, ignoring him. "What? What is it?" Brandon asks. Benjamin swallows his water. "One has tattoos, one has a nose ring, and the other two have been texting for 5 whole minutes," he says, uninterested. Brandon smacks his own face. "Man, you're such a buzzkill. That overactive brain of yours isn't gonna help you catch a girl, you know," he warns. "Says the guy who didn't get a full-time honor scholarship," Benjamin replies back. "All right, you get one of those, I'll admit. But, Benjamin, I don't get it. You could have went to Harvard or something. Why are you settling for the University of Kentucky?" he asks. Benjamin drank some more of his water. "You know my family can't afford Harvard? They only give scholarships to poor families who make less than $40,000 a year," he says. Brandon wasn't convinced. He knew Benjamin too well. "That's a good reason, but I know you. That's not the only reason. Why did you decline it?" he says with certainty. Benjamin realized he couldn't get out of it, so he gave in. "Well, I would be away from my family and from you," he says. "You're my only real friend, Brandon. My friends from church all left to live their own lives, but you're still in my life, and I don't want to lose that," Benjamin says truthfully. Brandon smiles at his friend's words. "And you're my best friend, and I couldn't have made it this far without you, because you're an amazing guy. Just don't hold yourself back because of me. Promise me you won't," Brandon asks. Benjamin agrees, making Brandon smile. "All right, now let's ride the Goliath one last time." Benjamin gets annoyed. "We did it 4 times!" he shouts. In the present, Brandon lays on the broken glass. It's morning, so he gets up. He heads into the kitchen, grabbing a frying pan, and goes towards the door, hearing the walker. He goes around the house and sees it banging against the door. "Hey!" he shouts. The walker stops and looks towards him, growling. Brandon holds his frying pan tighter and hits it in the head. The walker drops down, but continues to growl. "Still alive! What are you?" he asks. Brandon quickly grips the weapon and hits it again, killing it. Several days later, Brandon begins to pack his belongings. He grabs some food supplies, photos, and sees Benjamin's paper, the werewolf story. "Why did you write this?" He takes it and gently places it in his bag. Brandon leaves his house with his backpack and walks through the streets. As Brandon walks for hours, he wanders and tries to open one of the cars on the road, but can't open it. Brandon sees a man lying on the ground. He had blood on him. Hello?" Brandon asks, concerned. Are you okay?" Suddenly, The man grabs his arm. "Hey, what are you doing?" he screams. The man pulls out a knife and slices Brandon's leg. He screams in pain, collapsing, as another man comes running out of the woods. Brandon uses his other foot and kicks the man, but is restrained by the other. "Let me go!" he shouts. "Give us the bag!" the man shouts. Brandon begins to get punched, and as he covers his face to block the punches. "Leave him alone!" A gunshot rings off, and one of the men drops down dead. "Get back!" he says. Brandon looks and sees a man in a police uniform aiming his gun. Okay, the man begs. "Now get out of here! If I ever see you again, I'll kill you!" the cop shouts. Brandon, covered in bruises, bleeding from his legs, looks on and sees his hero. "Hey, kid, you okay?" the cop asks. "Kid?" he shouts as Brandon stops holding his bleeding leg and drops down, blacking out. Darkness is everywhere until light appears, shining on the ceiling. Brandon opens his eyes and finds himself on a bed as he tries to get up. He falls back as a handcuff tied to his arm pulls him back. "What the?" he panics. He hears a knock on the door. He sees the police officer come in. "I see you're up," he says. Brandon is nervous. "Sorry about those. I'll get rid of them. Are you hungry?" he asks. Minutes later, Brandon is nervously sitting at a table where he sees a beautiful blonde woman pouring food into a bowl. The cop takes it and slides it to Brandon. "It's chili." Brandon contemplates. "Why did you save me? Why are you helping me?" he asks. The cop is surprised at this. "Well, it's what police officers are supposed to do," he says. "Police officers are supposed to protect people from themselves and help them in their time of need. I became a cop because my father wanted me to become a good man. A man with morals and honor. Unfortunately, a lot of officers didn't follow their oaths before, and even fewer kept theirs when everything started to fall apart. I lost my partner," Peter says saddened. "He got bit while trying to carry an injured kid to a hospital. I tried to watch his back, but I failed him." The man stops. "I'm sorry. My name is Peter. This is my wife, Sarah," he says, pointing to the blonde woman. "What's your name?" he asks. "It's Brandon," he says. "Are you not hungry?" Peter asks. Brandon looks at his food. He thinks back to that night, the infected tearing people's flesh off. He was disgusted. "I can't. I'm sorry. I mean, thank you for everything you've done. I appreciate it, but I'm just so scared. I'm alone," he says, terrified. "Don't say that, kid," Peter says. "You're not alone. She's dead," he cries. "What? Who?" Peter asks. "My sister," Brandon says with tears in his eyes. "My little sister. She was 8 years old, and they killed her." Brandon cries on the table. Sarah looks saddened, covering her mouth in horror. Peter looks disgusted. "I'm so sorry, kid. I'm sorry for your little sister. I'm sorry that happened to you. No one deserves to lose someone like that." Later, Peter fixes Brandon a bed. "Try to get some sleep, okay?" he says. "I'll try," Brandon says, sitting down while Peter and Sarah drink coffee at a table. And Sarah asks Peter what they're gonna do. The city is a no-go for them, and they only had enough food for 2 mouths. Peter says they can't just give up on the kid. He needed help. Peter says he can't let him, as he's just a kid with an injured leg, and it'll be worse if he makes it worse as it might cause permanent damage. Several weeks pass. Brandon watches Peter fix up his police car. "Hey kid, how's the leg?" Peter asks, noticing his bruise. Brandon says it's feeling better and notices Peter's skinnier. "Whoa, what happened to your eye?" he asks, concerned. This crazy guy jumped me this morning when I went into town to getting some food," he says nonchalantly. "You said a person? Or was he infected?" he asks. "No, I don't think so," but Peter says nervously. "He wouldn't talk, he just tried to kill me. He had face paint on him," Peter states. "That's weird." "So, what's up with this car?" Brandon asks. "I'm just fixing it up. I was never much of a mechanic. You?" he asks. "Not really, but my best friend's dad was a car expert. He showed us a lot about cars." Brandon looks at the hood. "Is it a dead battery?" he asks. It might be. I forgot to check the battery." Several more weeks pass, and Brandon and Peter do assorted things like fixing up the car and eating at a table with his wife. "Your leg is doing a lot better," he says. "You're almost ready," he states. At nighttime, Brandon looks at a photo of Benjamin in his room. He went to his desk and began to write on a piece of paper. "Peter, Sarah, I'm truly sorry. I'll try to come back, but I am truly sorry for this." He ends his note. Brandon gets up and slowly and quietly leaves his room and heads to the front. He slowly grabs the car keys and looks at it, looking guilty. He goes outside and starts up the police car and drives away. Hours later, Brandon pulls up to a damaged and abandoned neighborhood. He takes a left and drives off. As he drives, he stops and pulls up on a house. He looks at the mailbox, and he was there. The hunters. He noticed the tons of garbage laying everywhere. Brandon goes to open the door, and he calls out for Benjamin. Nothing. He looks at the photos, boxes, bags everywhere. He looks around and saw empty cans of food and trash cans and dust everywhere. "Benjamin!" he shouts. "Oh my God, what have I done?" he says. Brandon quickly gets in his car. Brandon arrives at the house an hour later and sees Sarah. "Brandon?" she shouts. "Sarah, I'm so sorry. I just had to..." She interrupts him. "Forget about it. It's Peter," she shouts. This worries Brandon. "What? What's wrong?" he asks. "Peter went to town to get some supplies, and he's an hour late," she cries. "I was gonna go myself, but..." Brandon interrupts her. "Where is he? Where did he go?" he asks. With Peter, he is covered in blood and forced to his knees by a large man holding a machete. Peter looked and saw himself on a large platform with dozens of walkers crawling towards him. He was scared and saw 4 other guys next to him. Peter also saw a young girl with them. "Hey, are you okay, kid?" he asked when the large man kicked him. "Silence, you pig! You should be worried about yourself." "Please, let us go!" one of the men screamed. "We just wanted food," he begs. "And now you are food for them." The large man slits his throat and kicks him down into the mass of walkers. Peter watches in horror and looks away as the man is torn to shreds. The other men scream in panic as the murderer goes to them and casually slits another throat. He does the same and pushes the man off. "You'll burn in hell for this!" the man shouts. "Hell? Where do you think we are?" he asks, slicing his throat and pushes him down. The man grabs the girl and hands her the knife. "Kill the last 2. Prove yourself to us," he demands. The girl takes the knife, clearly scared, and goes towards the 2 terrified and bloody men. "Don't do this! Please, we can..." The girl cries and slits his throat as he falls down. Why are you doing this? We did nothing to you! Peter shouts. I just thought it'd be fun to watch, the man says. Kill him! The girl goes towards Peter when he hears something. A loud sound. He hears an engine and sees a car in the distance. The large man is surprised, and the car crashes into the platform and the dead, killing the walkers and knocking them off the platform. Peter falls to the side of the platform and sees the dead crawling towards him. Brandon steps out of the car and collapses to the ground. He pulls his gun out and starts shooting at the dead, drawing their attention. Peter sees the bloody machete near him. He crawls towards it when one of the men walks towards him. Brandon aims his gun, fires in his chest, killing the man as Peter kicks him into the group of walkers. The walkers tear him apart as Peter cuts his bindings off. Peter runs and he shouts, drawing the dead to him. The large man sees this and grabs their girl. Let's go, he demands, and they take off, running into the woods. Brandon continues to fire his gun, but runs out of ammo. Brandon, run! Peter shouts. No, I'm not leaving you! He shouts back. As he hits the walker with his gun, Peter takes his knife and starts to stab the walkers. Over here! He shouts. Both men try to kill as many of the dead as they can, but are about to be overwhelmed when loud gunfire is fired above them. They duck and cover their heads in fear as the walkers shot repeatedly and drop dead in front of them. They look up and see a lot of people standing over them with guns. Hello there. Who are you? Xavier asks them. Sometime later, Brandon goes to sit with Peter. I am so sorry I left, Brandon tells him. I went to look for my friend. He meant the world to me, and I lost my mind thinking I could find him on my own. I'm so sorry this happened, he apologizes. Brandon, I don't want to hear it. I told you, you have nothing to apologize for. I mean, you destroyed my car, but you saved my life. You really came through for me, kid. At most, we're even, he tells him. Brandon smiles. Thank you, Peter. I don't deserve a friend like you, he says, remembering someone he lost. Many months later, we see Brandon walking in the woods when he hears something. He hides and notices people in a vehicle in the street. He noticed a beautiful Hispanic woman and a tall man with long hair. They were talking and having a conversation with other young adults around them. They were climbing into a military Humvee, but he realized he was too exposed and quickly ducked. As he looked through the bushes, he saw the man aim his suppressed gun. Brandon was hoping he didn't see him, as he looked dangerous, and he was only by himself right now. Brandon then heard a walker. This was bad, because if he killed it, they would know someone was out here. He was hoping it wouldn't see him. Strangely, the walker goes past him, missing him, and leaves the forest. When Brandon sees it being shot in the head from 50 feet away by the man. The man keeps quiet, staring into the forest as Brandon continues to hide. Thought you saw something? He hears the woman ask. Yeah, I guess I'm just nervous. We got a lot of people here with us, the man states. Brandon couldn't believe it. He knew that voice. He recognized it from anywhere. But how could it be him? As Brandon continues to think in his disbelief at the thought of his best friend actually being alive these last 2 years, he fails to notice as Benjamin and his group take off in their vehicle and drive off. Brandon steps out of the forest, watching them leave. He pulls out his wallet and takes out the photo. He smiles with a tear in his eye.